Hey folks, David here. I want you to take a listen to this little excerpt recorded by our guest and just guess which country you think it's from. Turns out the country is China. And there's something called Chinese macam. Anyway, that is one of many revelations which I have received from our guest, Dr. Mu Shen, who's not only a ethnomusicologist, he's also a producer with an incredible series that you can catch at a restaurant that he's involved with of Western Chinese food called Beef Up Noodle. So you can check the notes to hear about his series as well as learning more about such a fascinating character. So here we are with Dr. Mu Shen. You're listening to NYC Radio Live. I'm thrilled to talk with a gentleman that I have a lot of respect for. I'm always learning from Dr. Mu Shen, ethnomusicologist, producer. Actually, I discovered you're a musician as well. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to chat.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to talk with you as always.
Cool. So, to me, it's always, I started to learn this weekend when we're spending some time together more about your discovery because of music. You're kind of have an encyclopedic knowledge of music from many traditions. So can you talk to me about just the beginnings of your discoveries of music? You were born in what part of China were you?
Yeah, I was born in Tianjin, China, which is a big city close to Beijing. It takes about 35 minutes by train from Beijing. I mean, the trains in China are generally very fast. So, and I also lived in Beijing for a long time. So you can say I'm from Tianjin and Beijing.
Mm-hmm. And so what was the music that you were exposed to as a child growing up?
As a child, I wasn't exposed to too much kinds of music, as you know, during that time we didn't have the internet, and also I don't think we even had a cassette player until I was in high school. And so listening to the radio was almost all that almost the sole channel for me to access music. And there were not many live concerts either. But I was able to listen to a lot of local music from Tianjin and North China. For example, what they call qu which is a kind of narrative singing. Tianjin has a strong tradition of qu, and I was able to listen to a lot of that. But it wasn't until later in college that I really started to listen to more traditional music from other parts of China. So I studied in Nanjing, which is in eastern China, eastern central kind of China. And there I was able to watch some documentary films about music and also some recordings. I listened to some recordings of traditional music from elsewhere. But what really expanded my view scope was my my journalist career. I became a newspaper reporter after graduation in Beijing. So I worked in Beijing as a journalist covering music for 15 years. During that period of time, I interviewed many musicians, and I watched a lot of performances. I read a lot of books, media articles. And it was during that period of time I also started to appreciate world music from different parts of the world. And also, it was during that period of time that I started to have an interest in ethnomusicology, which I studied later.
And so when you were in this period, how would you get your hands, or how would you hear this like world music?
Yes, I mentioned this when we met last time. So it was largely through kind of CDs that we found in China. In Chinese, it's called Dakou CD, and it means cut out CDs, which refers to those CDs with cuts and dumped by the record companies, and somehow they were imported to by some Chinese people as garbage and recirculated in the black market. And I was able to buy a lot of the Daco CDs, and there is anything in it, everything, all kinds of music, mostly rock music and popular music. But if you spend enough time, you can also find traditional music. So I usually, for a number of years, every Saturday or Sunday, I would spend the whole day in the shop of those, going through maybe thousands of Daco CDs. And in this way, I accumulated some CDs of traditional music from different parts of the world. And
So
of
what?
course,
Oh,
then we had internet, and from the internet, I was able to listen to even more diverse traditions.
so what were some of the amazing discoveries when you're spending all those hours going through thousands of cut up, intentionally destroyed CDs? But what were some of the ones that just kind of lit up your mind, or kind of changed the way you think about things, or just got you so excited?
Yeah, I had some recordings made by Alan Lomax, of I remember some recordings he made in jails in the South, in the deep South. And also I got some like Smithsonian folkways, that kind of recordings, like for example Indonesian gamelan, some African music, and actually, what for me what's more important is usually the booklet, not just the CD itself, because from the booklet I got my most education about world music, which wasn't really taught in China in schools.
That's amazing. And yeah, I too was struck by the Alan Lomax recordings, including those in the South where you hear the chain gangs and they're singing, and so with the rhythm, the hitting those things, and of course the Smithsonian recordings of the Shona and Bira and the gamelan.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, liner notes. We had access of course, here didn't to all that stuff, but it was, I would go to the record libraries of either libraries or radio stations and just pour through and read all those liner notes and start to put together some kind of understanding. I always, until I wrote my first liner notes, I always thought that they must be true. So that's amazing. Okay, so and so you're did you have any other like friends out there that had the same interests? And now you're really getting esoteric into field recordings of I guess early Muddy Waters and stuff like that. Did you have friends in China that shared the interest or excitement about the music?
First of all, now I'm interested in reading your liner notes.
Oh, yeah, just don't believe them.
And yes, I had some friends who had similar interests, but not that many. Yeah, but it became easier to meet people with similar interests after, we had the internet. And yes, throughout the years, I've made quite a lot of friends who are interested in world music. Some of them later developed a career related to music. Some others still keep it as a hobby, but whatever they do, we have a lot of topics in common, and whenever we have a chance to talk, we always spend a lot of time talking about our discoveries in music.
So, okay, so the summary is that you become a music reporter, and then all this CDs are discarded as garbage by the labels and imported into China, and you dig through them and make all these discoveries. And then during these 15 years, and then what happens? You decided to start pursuing an academic career, or what happened next?
Yeah, so while I was working as a journalist, I met some professors of musicology, and they encouraged me to do graduate study. So I did. So I got a master's degree in ethnomusicology from the China Conservatory of Music in Beijing, and also I translated a classic work in ethnomusicology, which is the Anthropology of Music by an American scholar named Merriam into Chinese. And so that work is like quite important in introducing the discipline of ethnomusicology to China. And later there came an opportunity for me to pursue a doctor's degree in ethnomusicology in London. So I moved to London and I studied at the School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, or it can be called SOAS, University of London.
How is that scene out in London?
Wow, that was a great period of time for me, because London is similar to New York. It's a metropolitan with people from all around the world, and you can listen to music from very diverse traditions. And also, I was able to study more systematically ethnomusicological theories. Although my topic was the music of the Uyghur Uyghur Sufi Muslims in China. Ethnomusicology, it is a theory. It is a study of music from an anthropological point of view. So I did benefit a lot from study the theories of ethnomusicology. And also I was very grateful to my program because I could spend a year in Xinjiang in China doing field work among the Uyghur Sufis.
Yeah, and so once you started studying on your own and doing field work, did you have any kind of revelations? Did you like discoveries that you feel like you had made, the things that you weren't aware of, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So through my studies, I realized that different musical traditions or cultures are actually interconnected. There is no music that is totally isolated in the world. And to understand the music of the Uyghur people, you have to see it in a bigger picture. So I became more interested in Central Asian music, like the music of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, and of course also there is the influence of Chinese music, the Hui people, Hui Muslims. They are actually all related to each other. And on the other hand, because my topic is about the music of the Uyghur Sufi Muslims, there's another dimension of the Islamic culture, especially the Sufi culture from elsewhere, which is also interrelated with the Uyghur Sufi music.
So maybe this is a good time to listen to something. What should we take a listen to? What makes sense?
Okay, let's listen to one of my field recordings of the Uyghur Sufis. And I made this recording in Hotan in southern Xinjiang. And it is a part of the Chebiyat Maqam. The Uyghur people, they have what they call the On-Iki Maqam, or the 12 Maqam, which are 12 suites of songs, instrumental music, and poetry. And the Chebiyat Maqam is one of them. And this recording I made is from the mashup section of the Chebiyat Maqam.
What was the exact setting? What was going on in the room when you recorded this?
Okay, so this was actually at a wedding. It was at a wedding of a friend of mine in Hotan. And at weddings, people always play music. I mean, in recent years, there are some different ideas because there are some Muslims influenced by reformist ideas who believe that music is haram and should be forbidden. But traditionally, in Xinjiang, music is something necessary at a wedding. And people would, these people, they are not professional musicians, but they love to play music. The music is like an organic part of people's lives there.
So there's so many kind of fascinating elements, and it all relates to what you're saying about how no music is isolated. But the listeners of this podcast and these radios, they're probably more familiar with concept of raga, which purely, was born out of Persian music and maqam. But even I have never, until I met you, heard the concept of Chinese maqam, just never to hear those two words together. So it's so fascinating to hear that this system of music, and to hear the system of music has floated through those Silk Roads there. And then rhythmically, it has like a kind of a Turkish vibe, right? So what's like if you could summarize or kind of list all the influences that like you hear in this music from various places, what do you hear in this music?
Yeah, I mean, there are various concepts like the Iraqi maqam or the Central Asian maqam, the Uyghur maqam, and I think in Azerbaijan they have something called a mugam, and in India they have the raga. In Iran they have the dastgah. So these are all traditional frameworks for musical performances, and they are usually based on certain modes of music. So, and you're right in pointing out that the rhythm of this piece is related to Turkish music, because at first you can hear what in Turkey is called the aksak, which means the limping beat, because it's not a regular beat. So the duration of the strokes within one bar is different, which is something quite different from Western music. And for the 12 maqam, usually this is the rhythm in the first song of the mashup section, and later, I mean, the second and third song are usually in more duple, in more regular duple meters.
Right.
They would always start with the limping beat.
And that rhythm is so interesting too, because that rhythm is that do ka do ka do ka do. That is something you hear in obviously in Greek and Turkish music. There's something very essential about that rhythm, because it's basically the same as like reggaeton, kind of rhythms. It's a very efficient way to imply both a triplet feel and a duple feel, because anyway, it's like a very like a sub. It's almost like you take the first half of a clave and go, and cut it off or something. But and then of course it's like the surf rock beat, which came from that Turkish and Greek rhythm. So yeah, that super interesting. And of course, when you see that in the wedding, that limping rhythm, it all works with an associated dance, right? It's not like a strange musical thing in that context. It's just very natural, I imagine.
Yeah, but actually, so the mashup section of the maqam is very much related to dance, but usually in the first song with this limping beat, it's more for meditation rather than dance.
Oh.
And then when the second or third songs start, people begin to dance.
Okay,
Because in a way, it's difficult to dance on this limping beat, I think.
I see. Okay, so I stand corrected. Although they do, Turkish people do have things in 5 and 10 that they work out. But that's interesting. So the meditation element obviously is related to the Sufi element.
Yeah, because the Uyghur Mukam music is actually very, very related to Sufi.
And these people, a lot of them, like their complexion, they're in China proper, but they look a lot if you look in their faces, they look quite Turkish, right? Some of them.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the Uyghur people is a Turkic people, and their language is a Turkic language. They can communicate with Turkish people. So half of their vocabularies are similar. So if they speak slowly to each other, they can understand each other.
Wow. So you're out in Western China recording this stuff. And another amazing recordings that you made were this kind of choir, this polyphonic singing. Is there something you can share recording wise?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so this is the polyphonic singing of the Kam people, which is also called the Dong people in Chinese, but they refer to themselves as the Kam people, and they live mostly in southwestern China's Guizhou province, but also in Hunan and Guangxi. And I started to be interested in their music since long time ago. I think, I'm not sure, maybe 15 or 20 years ago. And I started traveling there, and I made some recordings, and we can listen to one of them. So this tradition is called Ga Lao. Ga Lao is in their language, it means big song or grand song. It's a polyphonic singing tradition.
Let's take a listen.
khoai chắp lại xua sen này giao tạc sang mềm nén điều tai sợ buộc so xin cây chiêng biển văn yêu khai phá khang mong giao yêu lấy tổ nhân gian này cha xây và phò
This is just unbelievable to me. And obviously people around here, we who are music crazy, they might hear similar sounding things from Bulgarian choirs and Georgian choirs, and we label it polyphonic. So, well, I guess we should listen. I mean, first, you just tell me that the setting that you recorded this in.
Pardon?
Oh, could you tell us the setting that paint the picture of what it was like when you recorded this?
Yeah, this was in a village in Liping County in Guizhou province, which is in southwestern China, and the singers they are from the Ham ethnic group, and they have this long tradition of polyphonic singing, and these are just common villagers without much formal music education. But since they grew up singing in different choirs, so usually uh, people would join a choir when they are like 4 or 5, and they stay in the choir with people of similar ages until they became adults, and later they would join a different choir with adults of similar ages until they get married. And then later in life, some people would join another choir when they are elderly, and then they mostly teach younger people to sing. So they usually learn all these songs orally and by ear. And usually 1 or 2 singers who have better voices will be given the role of lead singers. And singing is like, it's related to all kinds of important life passages, like courtship, wedding, funeral, birthday parties. People would sing different kinds of songs according to the occasions.
And do these choirs, are they formed because of through some kind of religious reason, or it's just purely what that ethnic group does? Like how did it come across that people form these choirs for different ages?
It's not about religion, but because traditionally the Kan people don't have a writing system, so a lot of their culture and history is passed down orally through songs. So it's a kind of education about the culture and history of their people.
Wow. And how is it that how do you see this relationship? Because I mean, there's quite a close sonic relationship between this and the polyphonic singing of Bulgaria and Georgia. So how do you see that? Did it just naturally occurring in both places, or did it the music travel through trade and culture?
I think, of course, singing, you find singing everywhere in the world, and also I think you can also find polyphonic singing among most groups of people in the world. I think they are not. I mean, the Eastern and Western polyphonic singing traditions are probably not directly related to each other, but they are both parts of their spontaneous singing traditions. And actually, there are some similarities between the singing of the camp people in China and the Bulgarian people. Actually, I made an experiment. So, I mean, I didn't come up with the idea. The idea came up. The idea came from Pat Levin, who is a professor of the Dartmouth College. After I played my recordings of the camp people, he said, actually, he found another song by a Bulgarian women's choir, which happened to be in the same key with this song of the camp people, and he played them together, and they sound very harmonious. So I made I made a video of this. I'm sending you the address of my mixing of these two songs, and we can
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, so we can play it. Let me take a listen. Wow. All right. So that was, okay. Well, that's just crazy. It sounds wild.
Yeah.
So that was a recording of your own field recording in China, and then combined with some Bulgarian folk recordings, both made in small villages. It looks like, right? Did I get that correct?
Yeah, but actually, so I think both recordings have been released. So the Chinese part is from the Yandong Grand Singers.
Ah.
The Bulgarian part is from the Smolyan Folk Ensemble, as I mentioned in the link. So yeah, I think they are both available on various streaming platforms.
Wow. Okay, but from that, you're not your grand conclusion is not that these two cultures really influence each other necessarily. It's more that this is something natural to all of humanity, right?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure, but there may be some distant relationship, but in the old days, people didn't know what was happening in another part of the world, but and traveling was limited to adjacent areas. But so the camp people who live in southwestern China, they may have had influences on people who live not far from them. and then in turn, those people would have some influence on another group. And this kind of influence may extend a long way, but by the time it reached Eastern Europe, it might be something quite different. I think.
Very interesting. Wow.
And I want to tell you that it has been a dream of mine to organize a performance of these two different polyphonic singing traditions from China and Bulgaria. And now the dream will come true next year at the Hong Kong Arts Festival in February. I'm curating a concert by the Yandong Grand Singer and the Eva Quartet, which is a Bulgarian women's choir, and they will perform in one concert separately, but also together with each other.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like your life's work coming together.
Yeah.
Wow. Any other recordings you think we should listen to that might touch on something that we haven't touched on yet?
Let me see. Okay, maybe we can listen to number 6 on the SoundCloud playlist, which is a farewell song of the Miao or Hmong people. So this is somewhat related to the other concert I'm curating, the Global Hmong concert.
What if I just heard just that one just ends on these kind of like almost like a bird call or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just whoo.
Yeah, they have a very special way of singing. This is from the what they call in China the Miao people, or the Hmong, Hmong people. And they have a long history of migration. They are originally from northern China, but through history they've migrated to various locations. Firstly to southern China, and then from there to Southeast Asia, and then they continue to move, some to Europe and some to the United States. Now you find the Hmong communities, mostly in California and Minnesota. And so another project of mine is that I'm curating another concert for the Hong Kong Arts Festival next year of a global Hmong concert, which will feature Hmong musicians from China, Vietnam, and the United States. So it's amazing that they have people. They have lived apart from each other for, I don't know, maybe 1,000 years or even more, and they still play the same repertoire. For example, I played a recording of some funeral song from Minnesota to a friend in China, and he identified that the Hmong people in Yunnan in China play it in exactly the same way.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And you're saying these two groups, their diaspora split them up 1,000 years ago?
I'm not totally sure, but I don't know when the Hmong people started moving outside of China to Southeast Asia. Maybe 1,000 years ago, but I think in the 20th century, the Hmong people in Southeast Asia started moving to the United States, to the West. And of course, now they have developed different musical traditions. For example, Du Seko Lee, who is one of the Hmong musicians from the US that will be featured in this project, is a hip hop artist. But I was amazed that the Hmong community in the United States, although they have left China, I don't know how many centuries ago, are still able to keep some of the same repertoires.
Wow. That's an amazing revelation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a discovery you made. I mean, you were the one playing the recording for these people.
I cannot claim the total credibility, but I came up with this idea of having Hmong musicians from different parts of the world perform together to demonstrate the history and the development of their music. It's going to be an exciting moment.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah, and you've also studied Vietnamese music in general, right? I mean, I heard some other recordings of Vietnamese.
Well, I made some recordings there. I cannot say that I studied their music.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And yeah, some of that stuff was your Vietnamese recordings were like super bluesy. Some of that stuff sounded very.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I just came to Hai Phong in northern Vietnam, and I happened to be there at a community festival, and it was stunning because they played the dan bao, which is a single string instrument, which sounded in a way like the electric guitar. In a way, sounded like, in some parts, reminded me of Jimi Hendrix. And they played a variety of tunes, including one popular TV drama song from China of the 1990s. And then also, it was part of a ritual in which there was a shaman woman who became possessed, She was dancing crazily, and people were also giving out money. I mean, small notes, and I even got some money from them as a guest.
They were giving you money?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, it's probably just um, good luck wishes.
Oh.
I mean, very very small note, not
Mhm.
like maybe a dime or something.
Yeah, well, that's a tradition I could get used to.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what's Vietnamese shamanism like? What are they up to? They're playing music and they're you
They
know.
dance, and they would speak um, in some strange language, and I would say I had to say I didn't know much about the meaning of the ritual and music at that time, but later I've come across some research articles on this kind of ritual music in Vietnam, and if I have a chance to go back to Vietnam, I would really like to try to attend such rituals again.
Have you encountered other spirit possessions like in your travels?
Yeah, like in northeastern China, um, northeastern China has a strong tradition of shamanism. Because of the nomadic lifestyle and especially the Manchurian people. Um, I I used to work with a shadow puppetry group from northeastern China, and it was interesting to see that although they play very traditional shadow puppetry theater, um, because in most of the places such traditions have declined, and it is difficult for traditional artists to make a living by doing this traditional arts. But they were doing well. They got booked all the time, because in those areas people are more superstitious, and they have a habit of making wishes in springtime. For example, they would hope that their children would go to a good college or things like that. And then if that wish is realized in autumn, um, around harvest time, they would hold a ritual to thank gods for that. And the way they do it is to hire a shadow puppetry group to play in their home, in their courtyard. And I was there when such a performance happened, and it was interesting that actually nobody was watching the performance. And I was told that because the performance was not for human beings, but for gods anyway. So people were not really paying attention to what they were performing. But before the performance, they had these two people who were shamans, a guy and a woman, and the guy would play some frame drum and chanted, and he chanted some secret sutras or something, and the woman would go into trance and dancing and singing. I have a video of it, and I could send it to you. And that was that is still a living tradition in China.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I've seen obviously the shadow puppet tradition in Indonesia is a very strong thing, at least in Bali. That's like
right. I have also watched the shadow puppetry performance in Indonesia, and it was a little similar because people were not really watching attentively. It was like something for the deities.
wow. Yeah, interesting. And I guess, I mean, it's so amazing when you start learning Chinese history, the fact that, you know, in ancient times, there was like active factories, like at the time of Jesus, China already had like, factories going on, making various things out of metal and things like that. And my wife says how, really all of Japanese culture, it essentially kind of all exported from China. So I guess that's kind of the path that you think a lot of these things like shadow puppetry kind of emerged from China and spread out throughout Southeast Asia and that.
Well, I cannot say that everything started from China, but in the long history of China, people did create a lot of different traditions. And nowadays, when people talk about China, they usually do not realize how diverse the culture in China is. And of course, it has to do with the nationalism in China too, of the Han Chinese. But actually, for me, the all nations or ethnic groups, in the words of Anderson, are imagined communities. So the concept of Han Chinese was really invented quite lately, and it's a very artificial concept because how can like 1 billion people be called one same group? They are even within the Han Chinese, they are totally different ways of lives and culture.
Yeah. Well, any distinction, right?
Yeah.
Is what an imagined community, right?
I mean, for me, Han Chinese is not more meaningful than, say, Americans.
Right. So interesting. Wow, man.
I just send you a photo of the woman shaman I talked about.
Oh.
And I can send you the video later.
Great. All right. So, I mean, the last question I had, if we haven't touched on everything, like I have a particular interest in just Central Asia and Silk Road routes and the period before shipping where when those land routes were really made those areas kind of the center of the world. How did it, like, I mean, what have you discovered about the Silk Roads and the paths of music and culture, being kind of having expertise in that part of the world, in Western China and the those areas?
Sorry, what is the question?
It really wasn't a question. It was terrible. I'll edit that out. It's actually I'm actually, because like Mari was like asking me, like, ask him how it works. Like, how did it work? How did the cultures travel through the horses and the all the trade routes, and I don't know. If you like kind of discovered any of the mechanisms of how it all, like how all these cultures kind of connected. But like I said, it's not a very clear question.
Yeah, I mean, cultures travel by all means. For example, I'm from the Hui ethnic group in China, which is a Muslim group. And it's interesting because I mean, basically, we are the offsprings of the foreign Muslims who migrated to China from the Middle East, but mostly Central Asia, and married Chinese people. So we are the offsprings, and so throughout time we have adopted Chinese as our language, as our mother tongue, except that we would use some borrowed words for religion, for Islam. But interestingly, the borrowed terms we use are mostly in Persian rather than in Arabic. And that's because all our ancestors mainly came from Central Asia, and at some point, or maybe at least in terms of religion, Persian was a lingua franca in Central Asia. I mean, today, still, if you go to Uzbekistan, for example, Samarkand and Bukhara, although they are parts of Uzbekistan, the main language used there is Tajik, which is like a dialect of Persian. And of course, in recent years, because of the development of technology, the Muslim people in China have more access to Arabic culture. And some of them have adopted more Arabic terms and replaced Persian terms with them. So the culture is always a flow, it travels with people. Whenever people travel, or even when people don't travel, but nowadays, because information circulates on the internet or through other media, everything now is influential on other things. It's like the butterfly effect. So what some people do in China affect what people do in other parts of the world.
So do you agree with that concept that the world is flat?
I think it's flatter, but not totally flat.
Makes sense to me. Well, this was fun, man. Always great talking to you. Looking forward to connecting either in China or Hong Kong or wherever life takes us.
We'll come to China someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very close from Japan.
Yeah, I'm into it. Cool, man. All right, well, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much for
Yeah.
giving me this opportunity.
Oh, yeah, always
And
great chatting with you.
thank you